Hey, there was a recent analysis done of this, our president's annual address, this State of the Union address.
I think I did one of those too, but I was mostly yelling at my computer the whole time.
Yeah. Well, this recent review of it explained that a linguistic analysis of that speech placed it at about second or third grade level. I won't do that. I'm looking for people who are smart and motivated and willing to put some of their time and energy and resources into making a difference. For me, making a difference is fun. I think that if you can make a difference and make a living and have fun at the same time, it feels like play. And I've been doing it for quite a while now. And I could never go back to the kind of life I used to have. I lived in a cubicle. I was a systems analyst, engineer, physicist, call it what you will. And I was surrounded by stupid bureaucrats. People who really, you know, they'd have done something creative if they hadn't been such bureaucrats. Remember, bureaucracy is the systematic elimination, destruction, or avoidance of corrective feedback. Anytime you see that going on, you're dealing with a bureaucrat. And they are legion. How do you change that? I want some of those bureaucrat people to say, oh, I've had it with this, I want something different. So, we're going to show them something different. All right. I'm going to leave it to you. Boy, that doesn't do very well, does it?
Hopefully that wasn't a Sharpie.
No, it's not a Sharpie.
So one of the things that's a challenge is, you know, as long as you are talking about, you know, a cubicle, let's just use that as a metaphor for, you know, being a slave, because when you are a slave, particularly one of the mechanisms that are used to enslave us is debt, which we're not educated to avoid as young people. We're educated to go into. We're actually led into it on purpose. Yes.
So a debt-free society.
So we find ourselves in this position where we still need bureaucrats that we work for, because otherwise we aren't able to make our obligations, right? So the key thing to do would be to put yourself into that position where you're no longer you no longer require their services to meet your
they're going to require yours. Indeed. Because they're going to want to know how to get out of where they're at. Not all of them, but a lot of them. There's a lot of people don't know they have a choice, and so they choose not so wisely.
So for me, I mean, I have been in IT for quite a while, and I sincerely believe that I would do well better than I do had I, were I to be able to commit my efforts on my own.
Okay.
But the bridge from here to there is such where, once the debt monkey is removed, then something like that can be possible.
So being debt-free is something you want.
Right, and that's, even with the
take it a step further.
Yeah.
Go for financial independence.
Well, that is the next step. Yeah.
Okay. And you sooner or later that would appear on the list. And in my head, it's now on this list that I'm erasing because it's very important. And in fact, I would recommend that whenever you organize an octalog, we'll talk a little more about that, whenever you organize one, that you set one of the highest priorities of that group as becoming financially independent of the system.
Well, if I could just say one more thing.
Sure.
And the reason that I find that to be so important is, I'm, still in this world where I have these obligations that I have to meet. So therefore, I am required to wake up and not have a choice with what I do with that day. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm making less of an important impact than I could be had I had access to my own time.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's the key thing is, you know, when you wake up to, if there's something that you feel is important, you don't need to live in a mansion or, you know, a giant house and have, you know, 8 cars or anything like that, but just have the basic things that you need to get on your own so that you can use your time where you feel it's important to use it instead of being forced to use it. You know, 2,000 hours of your time a year, by then you don't have barely enough energy left to do anything else.
Quite right. Quite right.
Which is the whole point. Why they try to do that to us.
I totally
They don't want us to
agree.
have the resources to make that difference.
That's right. Because if we did, we'd all become independent. And we wouldn't have that need.
Sorry guys, I gotta go.
Okay. See you later.
Take it easy.
So yeah.
Anyway. So let me ask you this. If I could somehow magically guarantee you that putting your heart and soul into the Titania project would give you financial independence in a reasonable amount of time, would that be reason enough to really commit to it? The reality is I can't guarantee it, but I see it as feasible. I know others have done it. I think you could do it. I mean, I hear you're motivated to change something, and getting out of debt, being debt-free, being financially independent is one of the things that you want to do. Hey, that's doable. There's a term that you will run across in my books. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. Ah, yes. You run across that yet? Gaia weird? It's made up of 2 words. Gaia was the Greek goddess of the earth. This word, weird, or some people pronounce it weird, as if it was a U with an umlaut over it. It means destiny of choice. Now, not everyone who gets involved with Titania is going to acquire what we're doing as their weird. It's not necessary. But I will be looking for specific people who are willing to say, doing this, creating Titania, building it up, making it strong and independent, is the most important thing they can think of. And put it at the very top of their priority list. This is what I've done. Okay? I think Thomas has done it. There are a few other people coming along who are approaching that level of commitment. I put my life on the line for this. I've already made huge sacrifices to be standing here in front of you today, saying what I'm saying. That's fine with me. This is what my life is about. It is my weird. At some point, if you get really serious about doing this, it might become your weird. I'm not asking it of you, but there will be some people who see that, who picture a world so different from where we are now that it becomes, what's the word for it, compelling. Once I understood the potential of this methodology, okay, well, what's the potential? Everything on the list that you had here is doable using this technology, and more. Why is that? When you put a group of 8 people in a room, I'm going to symbolize them like this. and 4 women, typically. You put them in a room and get them doing the amplification process that we rehearsed last time. The creativity of this group is more than the sum of the creativities of the individuals in it. There is a synergistic effect. I don't know how much more. I haven't figured out yet how to measure how much more, but I know it's more. It's huge. Think about the human brain. Okay? Well, first of all, the human brain has 2 halves which cooperate, but they don't do exactly the same thing. They work together separately. It's like 2 separate brains. And within that, you've got the cortex in the outer layer. In the center, you've got what some people refer to as the fish brain. And surrounding that, you have the reptilian brain. And this portion out here is known as the mammalian. The mammal brain. And this is the cortex, the neocortex. That's 8 brains. You go 4 on this side, 4 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2, 8. It seems that in nature, and there are other examples I could give, when you get 8 of something together, combined in the right way, you get something wholly new. Humans didn't have, or pre-humans shall I say, didn't have what we call consciousness until this cortex was developed. It makes us conscious. And different parts of the cortex have different functions. But we were not aware, you use the word awareness, we were not aware of being aware until the cortex came along. It gave us the ability to think about ourselves and our thought processes. All right, if you think about it, you really don't know where your thought process comes from. You can say, well, it's the brain. Well, yeah, you don't do much thinking without a brain. On the other hand, where in that brain is your self-concept? Your idea of yourself? Nobody really knows. It's one of the interesting mysteries that have to do with how we think, how we feel, how we are in the world. Very interesting. Well, over here we've got 8 brains. And it gives a different outcome than they would separately. Just as the 8 brains over here are combined in a unique way, with a little practice, the 8 brains in that amplification meditation those 8 brains do something special together. The little practice thing we did was just a taste, just a little introduction. It gets really intense and very obvious when you do it over and over with a group of people that you come to trust, where you're trying to do some work together, trying to bring some results together. You're in the process of doing that. This gets important. This is not the most important thing about the octologue. The most important thing is that these 8 people are committed to the ethics